Thanks for joining us for NBC5 In Depth. I'm Adrian Pastor. With town meeting day in rear view, nearly elected leaders are settling into their new roles. It was an unusual election season in places like Rutland, where residents chose their next mayor through a write-in campaign. I spoke to Tom Donahue about how he plans to serve the city in a new capacity. First and foremost, we want to say thank you to newly elected Mayor Tom Donahue, the city of Rutland. Tell us how you're feeling post-election. What does the last couple of days look like for you?
Well, first of all, I had to thaw out because it was a classic March campaign, and we were out of the polls, of course, that day for 12 hours, and the cold and the snow. It was just classic. It was fantastic.
It was really interesting because of how everything kind of played out. You guys had about maybe a month or so to really get people
Mhm.
behind you. Talk to me a little bit about how unusual it was this campaign.
So, it was one of those things that came up abruptly. We were all surprised by the mayor's resignation. I mean, literally surprised. It was, took us all back. It was hard to even imagine what we were hearing. But it did not take me long to recognize the fact that I believed I was the best person for the job based on timing of what's before us for the next year, as well as my past experience. I have a significant amount of experience related to economic development, public safety, here at Brock Community Action, dealing with our vulnerable population of the community, all very, very important work that lends itself well to the next person up, in this case, the mayor's office. So we had, a good 32 days on the campaign trail because we started swiftly. We did not hesitate. And in doing so, it gave us the chance to really communicate our message. And I was excited about that because I had three tenets of the campaign: leadership, which I just love to do, and Rutland needs a great leader. And additionally, public safety, in this case, decreasing crime, which is something that I've been addressing actually for the past year in partnership, of course, by our great men and women in the Rutland City Police Department and their leadership. And then economic development. And we are on the precipice of some opportunity here. Those all three of those go hand in hand in hand. We want to have a reputation for public safety in this community, and we will have that reputation again. In the meantime, we're doing some new approaches to policing with additional officers on the force so that we're proactively policing what they call directed patrols. Instead of just responding, we're actually being proactive about our presence as a police department based on the statistics that they collect every 2 weeks under a program called RUTStat, Rutland Statistics. So they know exactly, and they're identifying the places that they need to be and the people they need to be paying attention to.
We know that there are some exciting things that are happening in Rutland already. We've started to see that hotel construction kind of come
Yes,
into the play a little bit. We know that there's a TIF district that was approved not too long ago that's
right.
also putting more money into the city and what could be, coming in the next couple of years. What has
Yes.
that meant to you, especially in regard to all the work that you've done previously for the city?
So that's the perfect question because that's exactly what inspired me to run. Because I know my skill set will lend itself well to accomplishing just what you outlined there. We have some projects that are very significant. We're already looking at project number two under the tax increment financing district, number one being the hotel, which also has living space in a restaurant. That is going to be a linchpin to downtown success because that ties in beautifully with we have daily air Amtrak service here, daily passenger rail service coming in and out of Rutland through Burlington, of course, which I worked many years to achieve in my previous hat as director of the Rutland Regional Chamber of Commerce. And so that is going to be huge, connecting to our Paramount Theater and the incredible activity and investment that's been taking place there recently, and tying in this hotel to downtown. So that is going to be a huge launching pad to future development. Success and development begets other development. The confidence investors and developers see in an area is always looked at by, who else is developing and why. And that's one of those things we're now going to have a reputation for. We want to aggressively go after people who want to do business here in Rutland and provide those jobs. We'll provide a workforce. We'll get people to move back into the city limits again.
As you're stepping into this new role, looking back on everything that you've helped kind of accomplish thus far, what's
Mhm.
your hope for those organizations, for Brock, for the Board of Aldermen, as you look ahead into the next year?
So I love that question because Brock Community Action is near and dear to my heart. All the five community action agencies in Vermont are incredible the work they do for the vulnerable population, and it's a really needed level of assistance. We have two-pronged approach to what we do. One is assistance, and the other is a path forward. And Vermonters need that. It's and the five of us do it well in the state of Vermont. So I'm very proud of what I'm leaving here. But to your point, I'm going to be communicating on a regular basis with this office so that they have my full support from the mayor's office, because what they do here is so critical to all of our success as a community. As far as the Board of Aldermen is concerned, and I will get to one of my first appointments will be my own replacement, which is great. And I'm in conversations on that now. But I want to bring communication also to the Board of Aldermen. Having been there on the other side of that for the last year, I know what it's like when you're finding out things through the newspaper or by at last minute. I'm changing all that.
Can folks in Rutland expect to see you somewhere on that ballot come next town meeting day?
I want to get some Rutland winning again and winning this year, and then we'll see if that rolls into year 2 and 3. That would be great, but I got to get us out of the gates right now.
It was also a historic election for Winooski. Thomas Renner is the first black mayor elected in the state of Vermont. Here's what he had to say about his message to young people and his vision for the city. Been doing this work for about a year now, since the former mayor Christine Lott stepped down about a year ago. Does it feel different this time now that you're officially the mayor?
Yeah, it's funny. I had an election night party and somebody asked, "So when do you start doing the job?" And I responded, "Well, I've got emails in my inbox right now that I have to respond to from being interim mayor." But I had to change my signature from interim mayor to mayor-elect. So um, it's different. Last time I was there because Christine felt like she could trust me so that she could step away, whereas now the community has said that they can trust me holding this role. So I've got the support of the community behind me, so that's huge. It does feel different, even though it's the same job.
You're marking some historical firsts here as the first black mayor in the state of Vermont. You're also
Yeah.
openly gay. So there's a lot to be proud of here. What does it mean to you to know that you're going to be marked down in the history books here?
Yeah, it isn't something I thought about as I decided to run for mayor. It actually hadn't really occurred to me. Once you start running a campaign, and especially as you're doing the work of mayor, you're kind of focused on those things. And I was at a community event, and a woman of color approached me with her kids who were two biracial children. And she told me, "My children are so excited that I get to vote for you because you look just like them." And at that moment, it really hit me. And I thought, oh, wow, I am going to be the first black mayor in Vermont. Um, the first black mayor in Winooski, which was already huge, but for the entire state, it's really an important thing that I'm undertaking right now. Being the first gay man is also something that I feel is so important. I just think of all of the people across Vermont, especially young people who can look to me and say, wow, I can do that. That's something that I'm able to do. And oh, that person looks like me. And it breaks down some barriers for people. Like when you see somebody who looks like you or has the same sexual orientation as you, it really means a lot to you to see that happen. There's
Been a lot of turmoil going on right now with folks, all over the world. We've seen it in neighboring cities. There's been a lot of concerns with immigration enforcement. And we've seen
Yeah.
cities like Burlington really take these action steps to try to mitigate some of those worries for a lot of our neighbors. Do you see kind of some sort of policy coming from your office that's going to address some of these issues?
The safety of our residents in Winooski is always top of mind in every aspect, and I've been really fortunate to be working very closely with leaders in Burlington as well as our leaders here in the city to just make sure that we are planning and to make sure that we are doing everything we can do to make sure that people here feel safe and also that they feel that they have a place where people will hear them and their concerns. We want to make sure that we're working alongside the legislature. Our members who represent Winooski down in Montpelier are doing a fantastic job making sure that our voice continues to be lifted there. I want to be working alongside the state when we're talking about these types of issues in terms of protecting citizens. It's really important that we are kind of doing this all together.
In terms of your priorities is really addressing housing and affordability within the city of Winooski. Could you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about some of those initiatives? What's going on? How are we planning to address some of those things in the city?
Yeah, We've done a lot of work on housing in Winooski. It's a small little city, and we don't have a ton of room to build necessarily. But what we want to do is make sure that the room that we do have in every remodel, every new building that goes up is doing so, pursuing the efforts that we want. A big focus of mine, already has been, but is going to continue to be, and even more so now that I'm officially mayor, is the armory reconstruction. If you're not aware, the National Guard had an armory here in town. They no longer need that, and it's a big plot of land that we're hoping to do some serious development on. So that is my priority number one, is getting that land developed so that we can bring more housing to our residents.
Looking ahead to next town meeting day, which I know is so far beyond what you may be thinking about right now,
Yes.
can neighbors expect to see you on the ballot?
Right now, I gotta focus on the job of being mayor. That's what I was elected to do, so I'm gonna do that, and I'll start to think about that as many months go by.
Montpelier, Vermont's capital city, has some new leadership too. Mark Gwynn, who was elected to on town meeting day, says that he's bringing a resident-first focus to City Hall.
When we talk about what people's priorities are, they are still those same age-old things that are probably true in every town. We need more and better housing of all types. We need to really address our infrastructure issues as well as modernization and expansion. We need to address economic development. But what I really heard from listening to a lot of city staff, to every one of the councilors, the previous mayors, and just business owners and residents in the community, was that across each of those three areas, there has been some element of broken or degraded trust and confidence in the other legs of those stools. And most of that, in my opinion, stems from a lack of, perfect or complete storytelling that leaves gaps in people's knowledge. And then rather than find out what all of those gaps really are, we fill them with assumptions. And often the assumptions are incorrect and or paint the other party in a less than favorable light. I think that is something that we can address, and we can address that with more information, more proactive outreach about what it is that we're trying to do, why these things are important for our shared vision. And that's what a lot of my work will be focused on.
You talked about affordability. You talked about upgrading that infrastructure within the city of Montpelier and making sure that it's, usable and friendly, I guess, for folks. What does that look like? Is there anything that you're looking to do within this first couple of weeks of your leadership that's going to address any of those particular areas?
Well, we are in the midst of a huge project out at Country Club Road here in Montpelier. And so it's not as though me coming into this particular seat suddenly changes the direction of where we're headed. My role, again, is not to have the new idea about what we should be doing somewhere, but to sort of shepherd and lead the conversations that are already in place, the ones that are about to emerge as we look at, who the proposals came from, what the merits and detriments of each individual proposal are. We're looking at those things as a whole community. My role really is to try to lead those conversations in a way that brings us towards a productive and constructive output, not necessarily to set us on a new path or to chase some new things. Respecting the will and the work of previous councils and mayors is also an important part of the role of stewarding the previous intentions of previous councils is very important.
Looking ahead to a 2-year term, there's so much that can be covered there. Overall, what's your hope and goal for the city of Montpelier?
I've been thinking about this a lot. And sure, there are projects, there's paving, there's water mains, there's Country Club Road. These are projects that I'd like to see move forward, of course, because the whole community wants to see them move forward. But if I could have accomplished something in my time, it would be that whether people agree or disagree about this detail or that, we as a community have a common sense of where we are heading. And two, that the tone of the conversation is civil and productive. And quite honestly, what I would like to see in 2 years, this year we had 4 seats, 3 council, 1 mayor. and 4 people for those positions. And for the sake of democracy, in my opinion, that's not enough. I would like to see us having 10 people running for those 4 positions in 2 years. So if we can change the process and the tone around how we have these conversations in council to make it appear more attractive and more meaningful for the people that we have we have a wealth of intelligence and talent and passion and people who really want to contribute to community that just for whatever reason are not stepping up to fill those seats in council. I'd love to see more people stepping into those roles.